Did you know that your unconscious psyche already knows who the love of your life is, even before your conscious mind notices it? Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists in history, discovered something that can completely change your view of love. And I want to warn you right away. What you are about to hear might make you reconsider all your past and present relationships. It could even explain why you felt that strange sense of emptiness in connections that seemed perfect on paper. There is an invisible force, a hidden pattern in your unconscious, acting like a cosmic magnet, pulling you toward exactly the person you need to complete your individuation process. Jung called it anima and animus, and this force is working in your life right now as you read these words, influencing every decision you make about love without you realizing it. But here's the unsettling part. Most people ignore these signals because they are too busy chasing what they think they want, instead of recognizing what their soul truly needs. And when I say soul, I don't mean the cheap romanticism of Hollywood movies. I'm talking about something much deeper and transformative, something that can change the very structure of your personality. Over more than 40 years of studying the human psyche, Jung observed patterns that repeated themselves again and again. In his patience, he discovered that those who found true love, the love that truly changed their lives, experienced certain specific signals that most people overlooked or misunderstood. These are not coincidences or romantic fantasies, but real manifestations of deep archetypal forces operating in the most primitive layers of our brain. The first sign that you have found the love of your life is something Jung described as the activation of your archetypal counterpart. This goes far beyond what popular psychology calls compatibility. In every man, there is an unconscious feminine element that Jung called the anima. And in every woman, there is an unconscious masculine element, the animus. These are not abstract concepts floating in the air, but real forces measurable through neurological and hormonal changes that influence every decision you make about love. Jung discovered that a man's anima develops mainly through his early experiences with significant female figures, especially his mother. But it doesn't stop there. It evolves throughout life, integrating elements from all meaningful female experiences. The animus in women follows a similar but opposite pattern, developing mainly through experiences with male figures. When you meet the love of your life, something extraordinary happens on a neurological level. This person naturally and effortlessly activates your anima or your animus. I'm not talking about superficial physical attraction that can fade after a few weeks. I'm talking about a resonance that occurs in the deepest layers of your being. In those areas of the brain Jung called the collective unconscious. You feel as though this person awakens parts of you that you didn't even know existed. Suddenly, you begin to express aspects of your personality that have been dormant for years, perhaps decades. A man might discover an emotional sensitivity he has suppressed since childhood. A woman might find an inner strength and leadership ability she never knew she possessed. Have you noticed that some people can spend months or even years with you without ever making you feel truly known? They may tolerate you, maybe even love you in some way, but there's an invisible barrier that never gets broken, while with others, from the very first meeting, you feel a strange familiarity, as if you've been waiting your whole life for that moment, as if you've finally come home after a long journey through unfamiliar territory. This is neither coincidence nor romantic projection. It is your anima or animus recognizing its perfect counterpart, the missing puzzle piece of your psyche. Jung observed that in this moment, brain regions linked to deep memories are activated, as if we are remembering something long forgotten. But be alert, because here comes something crucial most people overlook. This activation does not always feel pleasant at first. In fact, it can be deeply unsettling. Jung found that when our deepest archetypes are touched, we experience what he called a complex constellation. This means your entire psychic structure reorganizes itself to accommodate this new energy. It's as if someone has entered your psychological home and started rearranging the furniture without your permission. You might feel a strange mix of fascination and fear, as if this person has the power to change you in ways you can neither control nor predict. And this is exactly where you should pay attention. True love, the love of your life, does not leave you unchanged. It transforms you on an archetypal level. This transformation is not optional. You cannot experience only the pleasant aspects of this activation. It's a full package that shakes up personality patterns you thought were fixed and unchangeable. Jung warned that many people run away at exactly this moment, afraid of the intensity of the change to come. The second sign is closely related to what Jung considered the most crucial aspect of psychological development: the integration of the shadow. We all have a shadow, the part of us we have suppressed, denied, or rejected because it doesn't fit the image we want to present to the world. The shadow contains not only our negative sides, but also our undeveloped potential, hidden talents, suppressed passions, and most primal instincts. During his decades of research, Jung discovered something fascinating. The shadow does not disappear when we ignore it. It becomes more powerful, more destructive, and begins to sabotage our relationships from the unconscious. Most relationship conflicts, according to Jung, are not really about the surface issues people argue over. They are about unintegrated shadow aspects projected onto the other person. When you meet the love of your life, something happens that most relationships never achieve. This person can see your shadow without running away from it. More than that, in a mysterious way, they help you integrate your shadow into your conscious personality in a healthy way. They don't judge you for your darker sides. They don't try to change or improve you. They simply accept the entirety of your being with an understanding that goes beyond logic. Have you ever been with someone who made you feel like you could be completely yourself, even in your darkest or most problematic facets? I'm not talking about someone who grudgingly tolerates your flaws out of martyrdom. I mean someone who somehow turns those flaws into strengths, or at least sees them in a completely different light. For example, your tendency to be overly critical, which sabotaged past relationships, suddenly becomes a valuable skill for improving situations. Your stubbornness, which others saw as an unbearable flaw, turns out to be admirable determination when directed toward constructive goals. Your excessive sensitivity, which has caused you so much pain, becomes an extraordinary tool for empathetic understanding. But beware, this also means that this person will constantly challenge your ego. They will confront you, not in an aggressive or destructive way, but in a way that forces you to face parts of yourself you would rather keep hidden. If someone in your life does this naturally and lovingly, without becoming your enemy in the process, you should pay attention. This could be one of the clearest signs of true love. Not feel like an attack. It is an invitation to grow, to expand, and to become a more complete version of yourself. Jung observed that conflicts in such transformative relationships do not destroy the connection, but deepen it, because both intuitively understand they are participating in a sacred process of mutual growth. The third sign is perhaps the most mysterious and powerful of all: synchronicity. Jung developed this concept after years of observing that certain seemingly unrelated events appeared connected by more than mere chance. He defined synchronicity as meaningful coincidences pointing to the existence of a deeper order in the universe, an order that transcends the laws of cause and effect. When it comes to the love of your life, these synchronicities multiply exponentially, taking on increasingly complex and improbable forms. I'm not talking about simple coincidences like a random meeting in the same cafe. I mean an orchestrated sequence of seemingly impossible events that conspire to bring you together in a way that defies rational explanation. Jung documented cases in which his patients experienced chains of synchronicities so complex that he calculated the mathematical probability of their random occurrence. In some cases, the probability was 1 in several million. These could be repeated encounters in places where neither of you should logically have been. Connections through third parties who had no idea you were meant to meet, or even dreams and premonitions that manifested in reality with uncanny precision. But synchronicities connected to the love of your life have certain characteristics that distinguish them from ordinary coincidences. First, they intensify in moments of crisis or during important decisions in the relationship. Second, they often involve symbols or images holding deep personal meaning for both people. Third, they may contain elements coming from completely foreign sources unrelated to your conscious life. Jung believed that synchronicities are signs. We are aligned with our individual destiny, with what he called the archetypal self, the fullest and most authentic version of ourselves. When you experience a chain of synchronicities revolving around a particular person, your unconscious is sending a clear message. This person plays a central role in your individuation process. Have you noticed that with certain people, synchronicities happen almost constantly, as if the universe itself were actively working to keep you connected, creating encounters beyond any conscious planning? As if a higher intelligence were orchestrating events to ensure your paths cross again and again. But here's the fascinating part. These synchronicities do not stop once you are together. On the contrary, they intensify and evolve into subtler but equally powerful forms. You begin to experience what Jung called mystical participation, a psychic connection beyond rational explanations of modern neuroscience. You might often have the same thought at the same time, far more often than would be statistically explainable. You might share similar or complementary dreams without having discussed them beforehand. You might have intuitive insights about the other's state of being that prove disturbingly accurate, as if you shared a kind of common emotional radar. Jung documented cases in which couples separated by thousands of kilometers experienced physical sensations at the same time when the other was in danger or in pain. This is not fantasy or autosuggestion, but measurable phenomena Jung meticulously studied for decades. Mystical participation is not emotional dependency or codependency. It is something far deeper. It is as if you have found a common frequency, allowing you to perceive each other on levels beyond normal verbal or physical communication. The fourth sign is closely connected to what Jung considered the crowning achievement of his work, the archetypes of the collective unconscious. According to Jung, universal patterns of behavior and experience exist in each of us, shared with all humanity. These archetypes include figures such as the lover, the sage, the warrior, the great mother, the wise father, the eternal child, the trickster, and many others. Jung discovered that most people activate only a fraction of the archetypes available to them. This creates a constant feeling of incompleteness, as if we are playing only a few instruments in a large orchestra. Life feels limited and repetitive, as if we are always playing the same role without access to the full repertoire of our humanity. When you find the love of your life, you discover this person acts like a master key, simultaneously and harmoniously activating multiple archetypes within you. They awaken not only your lover, but may also bring forth your inner sage, protective caregiver, fearless adventurer, creative artist, or any other archetypal aspect needed for your full growth. This manifests in very concrete and observable ways. You might be braver than you ever thought possible. more compassionate toward others, more creative in your work, wiser in your decisions, or more playful in your daily life. Not because you are playing a role or trying to be someone else, but because their presence literally activates hidden potentials in your psychic structure. Jung noted that in truly transformative relationships, both partners serve as catalysts for the realization of each other's highest archetypes. It is as if each of you holds the secret combination to unlock the other's hidden treasures, treasures that may have been locked away for years or decades. Have you ever been with someone who makes you feel like your best self without effort? Not because you want to impress them or are playing a role, but because their mere presence brings out aspects of your personality you didn't know existed, like a piano finally finding the musician who can play all its keys. This archetypal activation has profound effects on your daily life. Your creativity grows, your leadership strengthens, your intuition sharpens, your sense of humor develops, your courage to face challenges increases. It is as if this person has turned on lights in rooms of your personality that had been dark for years. But the deepest aspect of this is that the archetypal activation is mutual and mutually reinforcing. Not only does this person bring out the best in you, you have the same transformative effect on them. Together, you create a psychic energy field that allows both of you to become fuller and more authentic versions of yourselves. Jung observed that couples who experience this mutual archetypal activation often develop abilities neither possessed alone. Their combined intelligence exceeds the sum of their individual intelligences. Their shared creativity surpasses what either could achieve alone. Their ability to solve problems, navigate crises, and create beauty in the world multiplies exponentially. The fifth and final sign is perhaps the most important and transformative of all: the unmistakable feeling that you are living your personal myth with this person. Jung believed that every person is born with a unique myth, an archetypal narrative that gives our existence meaning and purpose. This personal myth is not a story we consciously invent. It is a deep pattern emerging from the collective unconscious, guiding our development from birth to death. Most people live their lives without consciously engaging with this personal myth. They go through life as if they were actors in a play, whose complete script they never received. They know they are on stage. They know they must act, but they do not truly understand the greater story of which they are a part. When the love of your life appears, suddenly everything begins to make sense in a way that goes beyond intellectual understanding. This person doesn't just fit into your story. Their presence makes your story richer, more meaningful, and more complete. It's as if you had only lived half of your myth so far, and now you could finally see the full narrative. Jung observed that when two people find this mythical resonance, they experience what he called the union of opposites. It's not about being identical or having no differences. It's about your differences complementing each other in a way that creates something greater than the sum of your individual parts. This does not mean your life so far has had no value or meaning. It means that all your past experiences, including your deepest pains, your most devastating failures, and your most beautiful successes, suddenly reveal themselves as necessary chapters that prepared you precisely for this encounter. Every trauma becomes wisdom. Every loss becomes preparation for something better. Every moment of loneliness becomes the time when you develop the inner strength needed for this connection. Jung called this the process of individuation, the path of becoming who you are truly meant to be. He observed that, for most people, this process reaches its peak through meeting the so-called significant other, the person who acts as a catalyst for the full unfolding of your potential. Have you ever felt that your life with a certain person takes on a deeper, almost mystical meaning, as if all the scattered pieces of your experiences suddenly came together into a coherent and beautiful pattern? As if this person were not only an addition to your life, but the missing puzzle piece that makes your existence whole. But here is something crucial to understand, something that separates those who are truly ready for the love of their life from those who continue to seek superficial substitutes. Recognizing these signs requires a level of self-awareness and emotional honesty that most people actively avoid. It is much easier to stay on the surface and focus on obvious commonalities like shared interests, physical attraction, financial stability, or social approval than to dive into the archetypal depth of a connection. Jung warned that most people run from true love because it demands too much growth, too much transformation, and too much honesty about who one truly is beyond carefully constructed social masks. Archetypal love, the love of your life, does not allow you to remain small, comfortable, or hidden. It constantly challenges you to evolve, to face your shadows, and to integrate aspects of yourself you would prefer to keep separate and under control. This kind of love demands letting go of the illusion of control over your life and identity. It requires trust in processes that go beyond your rational understanding. It requires faith in transformations you cannot consciously direct. Are you truly ready for such a degree of change? Are you ready for someone to see all your vulnerabilities, all your imperfections, all your deepest fears, and for their love for you not to diminish, but to deepen because of them? Are you ready to do the same for another person? For if these 5 signs are present in your life right now, do not ignore them out of fear or attachment to familiar but limiting patterns. Your unconscious self is trying to tell you something profound about your destiny and your individuation process. It is trying to show you a path to a version of yourself you did not even know was possible. Jung did not see love as a passing feeling or fleeting emotion that comes and goes depending on external circumstances. He saw it as an archetypal force, a transformative energy with the power to completely reorder your psychic structure and lead you to the realization of your highest potential. This force follows laws that transcend ordinary logic. It does not respond to manipulation or control. It cannot be forced or artificially created. It can only be recognized, honored, and accepted when it authentically appears in your life. Jung also observed something that might surprise you. The deepest connections often begin in ways that defy conventional romantic expectations. They can emerge from friendships that gradually deepen. They can arise from apparent conflicts that reveal deeper commonalities. They can grow in situations where both people are entirely focused on something other than romance. Archetypal love rarely arrives with the dramatic staging we expect from films. Instead, it reveals itself gradually, like a sunrise, imperceptibly turning darkness into light. It needs time for the archetypes to fully activate, for synchronicities to multiply, for shadows to be integrated in a healthy way. These 5 signs are not a guarantee that the relationship will be easy or free from challenges. On the contrary, Jung found that the deepest connections often involve more conflict, more growth, and more transformation than superficial relationships. But they also offer something no other human experience can give: the opportunity to become who you are truly meant to be. With the activation of your anima or animus, the healthy integration of your shadow, the multiplication of meaningful synchronicities, the activation of multiple archetypes, and the feeling of living your personal myth, these are the signs by which your unconscious tells you that you have found something sacred, something that goes beyond ordinary love and enters the realm of spiritual transformation. Do not let the fear of growth cause you to reject this opportunity. Do not let the comfort of the familiar keep you from embracing the extraordinary. Do not let the voices of doubt, whether from within or without, convince you that you deserve less than the deepest possible connection between 2 people. Your psyche knows what you need for your evolution. Even when your conscious mind is full, Of doubts, resistance, and fears, your soul recognizes the truth. Even when your ego clings to familiar but limiting patterns, when you recognize these signs in your life, you face a fundamental choice. You can ignore them and remain in familiar patterns that keep you confined to a smaller version of yourself. Or you can summon the extraordinary courage to embrace the deepest transformation a human being can experience. Jung said that meeting true love is, at its core, a meeting with the divine within ourselves, the opportunity to experience the union of opposites, the reconciliation of the inner polarities that have torn us apart, and the realization of the archetypal self that represents our fullest wholeness. Your unconscious already knows the answer. Your soul has already recognized what your mind is desperately trying to understand and categorize. The question that will determine the course of your life is this: will you have the courage to listen to this deeper wisdom and act upon it, even if it contradicts everything you thought you knew about love? The signs are there, ready to be recognized by someone brave enough to look beyond superficial appearances. The archetypes are activated, ready to be integrated by someone willing to grow beyond their previous limits. Synchronicity is flowing, ready to be followed by someone who trusts the wisdom of the universe. And your personal myth is unfolding, ready to be fully lived by someone who accepts the call of their highest destiny. The love of your life is not simply a person who conveniently fits into your current life. It is a portal to the most authentic, complete, and powerful version of yourself, one you could never have imagined without this transformative experience.